Welcome. Today we're diving into an absolutely fantastic blog post from the tech team at Zerota. They really cut through all the noise and hype around a word that, let's be honest, can intimidate a lot of us developers: scaling. And their whole argument? It's not about chasing the newest, coolest trend. It's about something much more fundamental: common sense.
So we all get to this point, right? It's the question every single developer has to ask eventually. It doesn't matter if you're building a side project or a massive platform. You look at your app and you think, okay, how do I make this thing handle more people, more traffic, more everything, without it all just falling over and catching fire?
You look online for answers and the internet just screams a million complex things at you. You have to use Kubernetes. You need microservices to be web scale. But the folks at Zerota, they suggest a completely different and honestly a much more refreshing path. They say that real, solid scaling isn't about chasing the next shiny tech toy. It's about getting back to basics, simplicity, clean code, and using tools that have actually been proven to work. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. Think of it like building a pyramid. We're going to start at the very bottom with the right mindset. Then we'll build up to the code itself. Then we'll figure out where the real problems, the bottlenecks, actually are. And finally, we'll get to the top with some super smart but simple ways to scale. First things first. We're at the base of our pyramid. This is the most important part, because before you even think about writing code or picking a technology, you have to get your head in the right space. It all starts with the philosophy. And Zerota nails it with this quote. They point out this huge trap that we all fall into: FOMO, that nagging feeling, that fear of missing out. You see some new cool tech on Twitter, and you feel this pressure to use it, right? And that pressure often leads us to build these ridiculously over-engineered solutions for problems we don't even have. And this chart is just perfect. Zerota suggests we reframe what we call boring tech. It's not boring. It's reliable. It's battle-tested. You know how it works, and there's less stuff to manage. I mean, think about it. A simple script that runs perfectly every single time is way more valuable than a super complex Kubernetes cluster that you spend 3 weeks just trying to get running, right?
You've probably heard this quote a million times, but man, it is so true it hurts. Trying to build your little app for Google scale from day one is just a huge trap. The reality of our jobs is that business needs change like every other day. And all that complex code you wrote for a problem you thought you'd have, it often just gets thrown away. Total wasted effort.
All right, so we have the mindset. Let's move up one level on our pyramid and talk about how this all applies to the actual code we write. Because before we can even dream about servers and infrastructure, we have to talk about the software itself. Let me be super clear about this. Scaling is not about just throwing money at more powerful servers. It's not a hardware problem, not at first. It's a software problem. A well-written, clean application can often handle a massive amount of traffic on a tiny server, while a poorly written one will crash and burn on the most expensive machine you can buy. So you always fix the code first. Only then do you think about hardware. Now, this is such a critical point, especially for the more senior folks watching. You have to know your tools. You have to understand their limits. If you're trying to do some heavy-duty, high-performance task with a language that's just not built for it, you're making your own life miserable. You're trying to swim upstream. Sometimes the smartest optimization isn't changing the code, it's changing the tool entirely. Okay, here we go. This is the big one. If the problem isn't always the application code itself, then where do most of these scaling headaches actually come from? Let's get right to the heart of it. So Zerota's team throws out this number, and yeah, they're upfront that it's just to make a point. But wow, what a point it is. They argue that almost all, like a massive 97% of scaling problems come from one place: the database. And think about that. If your database is slow, pretty much any clever optimization you make in your code is like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. It's just not going to work. Now, for anyone who might be newer to this, an RDBMS, a relational database, is your classic database. Think PostgreSQL. It's structured, it's super reliable, and Zerota's main point here is that for the vast majority of businesses out there, a good old RDBMS works perfectly. You shouldn't feel this pressure to immediately jump to some trendy NoSQL thing just because you heard about it at a conference. So here is your action plan. This is so important. Before you even dream of saying we need a new database, you have to check these 4 things first. Because most of the time, the database isn't slow. Our use of the database is slow.
We have missing indexes or really inefficient queries. And that third step there, using a tool like Explain, it's like a developer superpower. It literally shows you the exact plan the database is going to use to run your query, and it makes the slow parts stick out like a sore thumb.
So if the database isn't the culprit, what's the other big bad? It's the network. Every single time one of your services has to make a call to another service, you're introducing all of this stuff, all this complexity. This slide perfectly explains why you hear engineers complain about microservice hell. It's this tangled web where one simple request can cause a chain reaction of dozens of network calls, and trying to debug it is an absolute nightmare. The common sense rule, minimize those network calls as much as humanly possible. Okay, this is a classic mistake. So many people think, my app is slow, I'll just increase the number of database connections. But that's not how it works. See, every single connection is expensive. It has to do a handshake, it has to authenticate, all before it can even run a single query. A connection pool is the smart way to handle this. It keeps a small set of connections open and ready to go. So your app can just grab one, use it, and put it back. It's way more efficient.
All right, we've made it. We are at the very top of our pyramid. Now that we have a solid foundation, let's look at two of the most powerful but still incredibly simple techniques you can use to really make your application fly.
If there is one technique that feels like a magic trick, it's caching. Seriously. The idea is so simple. You take the answer to an expensive question, like a complicated database query, and you just store it somewhere super fast, like in memory. That way, the next time someone asks the same question, you don't have to do all the hard work again. You just give them the answer you already saved. This alone can make a painfully slow app feel lightning fast.
So just take a look at this. This is a pretty normal request path without any caching. A user asks for something, and that request has to bounce around between different services and then finally go all the way to the database to get the data. It's a long journey with a lot of waiting.
And now, look at the difference. It's incredible. With a cache, the journey is cut down to almost nothing. The request comes in, we grab the answer straight from that super fast cache, and we send it right back. We don't even bother the database or those other services. The performance boost you get from this is, well, it's just massive. It's a total game changer.
Okay, and for our final technical point, when you do actually need more raw power, what do? Do you scale up, which means making your one server bigger and more powerful, or do you scale out, which means adding more servers? Zerota's advice here is crystal clear. Always try to scale up first. It's just simpler. It's the path of least pain before you have to deal with all the networking headaches that come with adding more machines.
And now for the last point, and this one might be the most important. It's not about tech at all. It's about people. Sometimes the biggest thing stopping you from scaling smartly and simply isn't a technical problem. It's a human one. It's a manager who wants to use some new tech just to put it on their resume, or a team that's just bought into the hype.
So, to bring it all home, here's the big picture. Writing good, clean code is your ticket to entry. It's absolutely essential. But if you really want to find the big performance wins, you have to focus your energy where it matters most, on optimizing your database and your network calls. That is where the real scaling battles are won.
You know, this whole philosophy from Zerota's tech blog is just so practical. It's a powerful call to fight back against unnecessary complexity. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Take a look at the projects you're working on right now. What is the single, simplest, most common sense change you could make tomorrow that would have a real, meaningful impact? Think about it. Thanks for watching.